What if everything you've ever been told about angels, about history, about humanity's origins, was a carefully constructed lie? For too long, we've dismissed ancient stories as mere myth, ignored cryptic whispers in forgotten texts, and comfortably settled into a narrative that keeps us safe. But what if the truth is far more dangerous, far more profound, and far more relevant to your life right now than you could ever imagine? We're talking about beings painted as dark, cursed entities cast out from heaven. But what if these fallen angels were so much more than simple rebels? What if they weren't just banished, but Fae-descended Fae, not as passive observers, but as active participants in the very creation of human civilization? This isn't a whisper in the shadows, it is a roar from history's most guarded secrets. Imagine a story so captivating, so world-altering, that it has been meticulously shrouded for millennia. These celestial figures, whose tale begins not just in myth but in divine rebellion, may have laid the very foundations of human progress, technology, and even our spiritual path. But who fae these fallen angels? Truly. What if their story goes beyond a simple fall from grace, beyond the simplistic notions we've been taught in Sunday school? Is it possible that these enigmatic figures, exiled from the highest realms, came to earth not as mere punishments, but as Fae architects, Fae of profound, disturbing change? They influenced everything, from the monumental rise of ancient empires to the very fabric of modern society. They brought gifts, they brought curses, and they reshaped what it means to be human. Are you curious? The deeper you dig into this mystery, the more the truth seems to slip just beyond reach. But I'm about to pull back the curtain. I'm about to reveal a shocking secret that could change everything you thought you knew about God, humanity, and the universe itself. Do you feel that pull? That nagging sense that there is more? That intuition that the story you were told is incomplete? If you are ready to peel back the layers of comfortable deception, to uncover the hidden truth that has been kept from you for far too long, then hold on tight. This isn't a fairy tale. This is the truth about the fallen angels. This is the story they didn't want you to hear. The journey is about to begin. Are you ready to see it? Heaven's rebellion, when angels fell for humanity. If you want to find the most profoundly unsettling, soul-shaking moment of divine transgression, don't look in the common narratives. Don't look in the stories sanitized for public consumption. Look deeper. Look to a text long hidden, often dismissed, and fiercely debated. The apocryphal book of Enoch. This isn't a verse you'd frame and hang on your wall. This passage will split your soul in two. To truly grasp the staggering depth of influence these celestial beings may have had on the very foundations of ancient civilizations, we must be willing to peel back the layers of time. We must venture into realms where history, myth, and divine rebellion blur into an unsettling reality. These beings, Fae, enigmatic, exiled, and incredibly powerful Fae, were not mere footnotes in ancient tales. They were central actors in a cosmic drama that reshaped the spiritual architecture of humanity's earliest belief systems. What if the cradle of civilization itself was not merely guided by kings and sages, but profoundly stirred by the secret, rebellious actions of angels who dared to defy the heavens? This ancient work, attributed to Enoch, the seventh patriarch from Adam and great-grandfather of Noah, is a treasure trove of forgotten truths and divine revelations. But why was this book excluded from most modern Bibles? What truths does it contain that some may not want you to uncover? As you journey through its ancient verses, the narrative takes a chilling, almost cinematic turn in Enoch 6:1. A dramatic scene unfolds beneath the quiet stars of a long-lost world. And it came to pass, when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and beget us children. This moment marks a divine transgression, an irreversible crossing of boundaries, the sacred and the profane. But pause and reflect for a moment. What kind of beings were these angels, who not only observed humanity from afar, but longed to possess it so deeply that they abandoned their sacred place in the heavens. Could this ancient text be telling us that these weren't just ethereal spirits, but physical, tangible beings who literally walked among ancient humans? If so, how many myths and legends we now dismiss as fantasy were actually records of forgotten, terrifying encounters with the divine? Their desire wasn't merely symbolic, it was carnal, and it was catastrophic. The Watchers, as they are called, did not act on impulse alone. They made a pact, a covenant of rebellion. They swore to carry out this forbidden act together. This was not a mistake. This was a movement, and the consequences of their decision would shake the world, echoing into eternity. But what drove them to this choice? Was it love, lust, envy, or something far, far darker still? This passage, though brief, is volcanic in its implication. It not only exposes the forbidden desires of heaven's sons, but it reveals something even more startling, that these angels were not abstract symbols of virtue or wrath, but real, embodied beings capable of touching, feeling, and falling fae. Why has this truth been buried for so long? What else remains hidden within the shadows of Scripture and time, waiting for those brave enough to unearth it? What does it mean when heavenly beings abandon their sacred posts to dwell among the sons and daughters of the dust? Could this be the moment when heaven's perfection violently collided with the chaos of earth, forever altering both? The Nephilim, giants, heroes, and harbingers of ruin, forget your fairy tales. The giants in the Bible weren't just tall men. They were a divine warning. They were the terrifying, living consequence of a cosmic crime. This isn't a story to comfort. It is a history lesson that should chill you to the bone. Because the existence of the Nephilim speaks volumes about the trajectory of humanity, when the lines between divine and mortal are brutally erased. Though much of this unsettling story is preserved in the Book of Enoch, the canonical Bible does not entirely hide it. Rather, it hints at it, veiled in brief but potent phrases that beg for deeper examination. Genesis 6:1-2 states, "When human beings began to increase in number on the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose." These sons of God, often interpreted by ancient Jewish scholars as angels, fathered a race known as the Nephilim, beings whose very name echoes with power, mystery, and dread across millennia. The word Nephilim itself, often translated as the fallen or giants, evokes a haunting presence. These were not merely men of great stature. They were entities of immense influence, straddling the thin veil between the celestial and the terrestrial. How did their existence affect the world around them? Were they revered as heroes or feared as abominations? Genesis 6:4 further declares, "The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown." But what kind of renown was this? Was it divine honor or cursed infamy? Their legacy was not only carved in legend, but echoed in fear. These beings, offspring of a forbidden union, stood as walking contradictions, part divine, part dust. Their strength, their size, their forbidden knowledge, it all unsettled the natural order. Were they protectors or destroyers? Gifts from heaven or harbingers of its wrath? Could the chaos they unleashed, the moral decay they seemed to accelerate, be one of the primary reasons God was so grieved in his heart for creating man? This eerie lineage is repeatedly tied to one of the Bible's most sobering judgments, the Great Flood. As evil multiplied upon the earth, as corruption soaked through the human soul, and violence filled the land like a raging river, a divine decision was made. The narrative in Genesis describes God looking upon a world gone mad, where his creation no longer resembled its sacred purpose. Was it the direct influence of the Watchers and the Nephilim that tipped the scales? Did their presence accelerate the decay of mankind's morality so completely that only a divine intervention could salvage creation? The flood was more than water. It was a reset, a reckoning. But it wasn't just aimed at sinful humanity. It was also heaven's ultimate, devastating response to the unnatural offspring and to the fallen ones who taught humanity things it was never meant to know. What secrets were lost beneath those churning waters? And what echoes of that rebellion still survive in the ruins of ancient myths and unexplained structures scattered across the earth? Was their extinction emphasized so clearly because their annihilation was the symbolic restoration of a cosmic order violated too deeply? Their story is a chilling reminder. Some boundaries are not meant to be crossed. Some knowledge comes with a price too heavy to bear. And some beings, even those of divine origin, can become the very architects of humanity's ruin. What terrifying lesson does their existence hold for us today, as we once again teeter on the edge of forbidden knowledge and unrestrained ambition? Do you see the parallel? The forbidden blueprint, knowledge that broke the world. What if the greatest advancements of humanity, the very pillars of our civilization, our science, our technology, didn't come from brilliant human minds alone? What if they came from the darkest source imaginable, a wellspring of rebellion and forbidden wisdom? This isn't just about ancient history, it is about the very foundation of modern life. According to ancient accounts, particularly the Book of Enoch, these fallen angels did far more than simply take human wives. They shared knowledge that would forever alter the path of humanity. They introduced mankind to skills and practices that, up until that point, had been cloaked in heavenly secrecy. They opened the eyes of humanity, but did they also blind the soul in the process? Enoch 8:1 gives voice to one of the most notorious among them. And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, and bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antitim, oni, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones and all coloring tinctures. This was no minor exchange of knowledge. It was a divine unveiling of power, both seductive and destructive. Azazel, a fallen prince among angels, did not merely teach mankind how to shape metals. He taught them how to dominate Fae. He taught them to wage war, to embellish the body, to manipulate beauty and allure. These were not innocent arts. These were tools of seduction, power, and control. What began as enlightenment quickly spiraled into corruption. Can we truly call it a gift if it severed humanity from its innocence? With the crafting of weapons came the birth of bloodshed on an unprecedented scale. With the use of cosmetics and jewelry came the rise of vanity, lust, and endless competition. Suddenly, humanity was not only surviving, it was contending, striving, overpowering. This was no longer Eden. It was a world reshaped by knowledge, never meant to be possessed. Have we ever stopped to ask, what price did we truly pay for this so-called progress? What Azazel and the Watchers introduced was not just technology. It was transformation. It was the accelerated evolution of human behavior. People who once lived by simplicity and divine provision began to rule, dominate, and ornament themselves with the symbols of self-made power. Was this the first fake great fall, not of angels, but of mankind itself? The ripple effects of this instruction were profound. What had been sacred became profane. What had been hidden became exploited. Could this moment, so quietly mentioned in apocryphal texts, actually be one of the most pivotal in human spiritual history? Even today, the fingerprints of these forbidden teachings are everywhere. In our global obsession with wealth, our unending cycle of war, and our rampant pursuit of superficial appearance. Have we inherited more than just culture from the ancient world? Could we be carrying the very echoes of angelic rebellion within our modern civilization? The moral weight of this knowledge cannot be overstated. The fallen angels had not merely broken from God's command. They had extended that defiance to mankind, offering them a seat at the table of cosmic rebellion. To teach is to share power. And these angels, by teaching mankind, were drawing them into their revolt, subtly shifting humanity's allegiance from the Creator to the created. Did the people of the ancient world understand what they were being drawn into? Or were they mesmerized by the light of knowledge without recognizing the insidious shadow it cast? This act This invitation into defiance imbued humanity with both power and peril. Knowledge became a double-edged sword. With it came advancement, but also arrogance. With it came healing, but also heresy. The ancient texts often portray the aftermath of the angels' teachings not as a golden age of wisdom, but as a descent into chaos and moral rot. Could it be that the very things humanity prides itself on today, science, astrology, medicine, trace their roots back to an exchange that heaven never sanctioned? And if so, what does that say about our origins and our destiny? Ancient echoes, unearthing the giants' legacy, they say history is written by the victors. But what if the earth itself holds secrets the victors tried to bury? What if the physical world around us, from colossal structures to unexplainable artifacts, whispers a story of a time when beings of immense power walked among us, leaving their indelible mark on our planet? This isn't just about ancient myths. It is about tangible evidence that defies conventional understanding. In the long shadow of their influence lies a world filled with architectural and technological marvels that defy the capabilities of early civilizations. These are not merely ancient ruins. They are echoes of a time when heaven and earth collided, when celestial knowledge flowed into the hands of mortals. These structures, scattered across continents and cultures, remain as silent sentinels of an era lost to time. Could they be physical proof that these fallen beings once walked among us, dictating the very blueprints of human advancement? Consider the Great Pyramids of Egypt. They stand like eternal mountains against the desert winds. Their scale is breathtaking, their alignment with the constellations unnervingly precise, their geometric perfection still unmatched by modern standards. How did an ancient people, supposedly limited by rudimentary tools, achieve such mastery of astronomy and engineering? Were they alone in their effort, or were they following instructions from entities who had literally seen the stars from above? Some believe the pyramids were more than tombs. They were cosmic temples, built with mathematical insight that reflected the heavens themselves. Could this be the very knowledge described in Enoch, when the Watchers shared the secrets of the heavens? Were these structures part of a divine blueprint, handed down by those who had once stood before God? And what of Stonehenge in England? These towering megaliths, transported over vast distances and arranged in precise celestial alignment, form a calendar carved in stone. How did those ancient builders know how to track the solstices with such precision? What drove them to raise these stones to the sky? Was it worship, or perhaps a terrifying remembrance of those who came from it? As we cross continents, the mystery only deepens. In the high Andes of Peru, the fortress of Sacsayhuaman continues to defy explanation. Its massive stone blocks, some weighing up to 200 tons, are cut and interlock so precisely that even a blade of grass cannot slip between them. No mortar, no machines, just seemingly impossible craftsmanship. Is this merely the result of forgotten human genius? Or is it evidence of heavenly instruction whispered into the minds of kings and priests? Teotihuacan, the ancient city in Mexico, whose very name means the place where the gods were created, offers more questions than answers. Its grand pyramid of the Sunday and pyramid of the moon are aligned with celestial bodies. The city's layout mirrors astronomical patterns with astonishing accuracy. But who were these gods for whom the city was named? Were they the fallen ones, deified over time by those who received their knowledge? The Nephilim may have vanished from the earth, but their legacy may still live, in stone, in symmetry, and in secrets carved into the very fabric of ancient cities. Was the grandeur of these civilizations truly self-made, or were they elevated by the hands of those who had fallen from heaven? Even beyond architecture, the ancient world holds technological artifacts that feel utterly out of place in their time. Consider the Antikythera mechanism, an intricate device pulled from a Greek shipwreck, often hailed as the world's first analog computer. Its gears, calculations, and celestial tracking capabilities rival modern designs. Who devised such precision? Did human ingenuity leap forward alone, or did it follow celestial instruction? Or take the Baghdad battery, a clay jar, copper tube, and iron rod that, when combined, could produce a small electric charge. Its very existence poses a startling question: were ancient people already experimenting with electricity long before its discovery? What inspired such innovation? Trial and error, or perhaps the direct guidance of beings who understood creation at its core? Across cultures, timelines, and terrains, we find consistent themes: structures too massive, tools too advanced, knowledge too sudden. These are not the hallmarks of slow, incremental evolution. They feel like the echoes of a revolution, and perhaps they're exactly that. If the fallen angels truly shared divine knowledge with ancient humans, their fingerprints would remain not in writings alone, but in the very bones of the earth, in stone, metal, light, and sound. What if humanity's so-called golden ages were not born solely of genius, but of an inheritance from heaven's exiles? These marvels invite us to ask the forbidden questions. Have we profoundly underestimated the true origins of human advancement? Was the bridge between man and God once crossed, not by prayer, but by contact? And if so, was it a blessing, or the beginning of a curse that still profoundly shapes our destiny? The universal story, myths that whisper the truth, is it coincidence, or a conspiracy of forgotten memory? The same impossible story is told, in different tongues across every ancient civilization, on every continent. Beings descended from the sky, they brought knowledge, they reshaped humanity, and they vanished. Why? Why does this pattern repeat with such chilling consistency? As we journey through the winding corridors of ancient history, illuminated by the faint but persistent glow of sacred texts, forgotten myths and unearthed relics, we begin to recognize a striking and unshakable truth. The story of fallen beings descending from the heavens to alter the fate of mankind is not confined to a single religion or culture. It appears again and again, like an echo that refuses to die. What are we to make of this universal pattern? Why do civilizations separated by oceans and centuries tell stories that mirror one another so precisely? Across the globe and throughout time we find recurring themes: celestial entities who fall from grace, who bring forbidden knowledge, and who ignite both the rise and ruin of humankind. These aren't isolated myths. They are fragments of a larger, grander narrative, scattered like ancient stars across the sky of human memory. Could it be that these myths, far from being mere imagination, are whispers of a shared legacy, an ancient truth concealed beneath the veil of time? In the cradle of civilization, Mesopotamia, we find the enigmatic Anunnaki. These deities were said to have descended from the heavens, bringing with them knowledge, wisdom, and the very tools of civilization. They were revered and feared, seen as the architects of mankind's destiny. Their names are carved into clay tablets in the oldest known form of writing, cuneiform, and their story bears an uncanny resemblance to that of the fallen angels in the Book of Enoch. Beings from the skies who disrupted the natural order and profoundly transformed the human experience. Were these Anunnaki just gods of myth, or the watchers under another name? Further west, in the mythic traditions of Greece, we meet the Titans, primal beings of immense strength and ancient origin, who were eventually overthrown by the Olympian gods. These Titans, like the fallen angels and their hybrid offspring, the Nephilim, stood at the threshold between order and chaos. Prometheus, one of the most well-known Titans, defied the gods by stealing fire and giving it to humanity. This act of rebellion, of imparting divine power to mortals, mirrors the very essence of what the fallen angels did. Did Prometheus not play the same role as Azazel, bestowing light and knowledge and bearing the crushing weight of divine punishment? In the cold northern reaches, Norse mythology offers its own echoes. The Aesir and Vanir, two divine tribes, engaged with humanity in ways both benevolent and violent. Their tales speak of gods walking among men, teaching them, loving them, warring over them. These sagas, too, speak of a breach between the mortal and divine realms, a recurring motif that finds its roots in the same spiritual soil as the Watchers. Was Odin, the all-seeing wanderer, a distant memory of a divine being who once descended to guide and judge. And across the vast oceans, in the rich civilizations of the Americas, similar stories emerge. The Maya revered Kukulkan, and the Aztecs worshipped Quetzalcoatl, feathered serpent gods who descended from the skies, bringing laws, calendars, mathematics, and the very blueprints of civilization. These deities were not just worshipped, they were remembered as founders. Like the Nephilim, they stood at the junction of divinity and humanity, revered as saviors, feared as rulers. Why does the image of a serpent, descending god, appear in so many parts of the world? Even the stories of ancient Egypt, though often interpreted through the lens of kingship and sun worship, speak of Thoth, the divine scribe who gave writing to mankind, and Osiris, the judge of the dead who was once a king walking among men. Again, we see the theme of divine knowledge bestowed, and of divine beings who suffered, taught, or rebelled. Are these echoes truly accidental, or are they fragments of a single forgotten history? What connects the Anunnaki, the Titans, the feathered serpents, and the Watchers is not just the fact that they all came from the sky. It is that they brought knowledge, sacred, dangerous, and transformative. And with that knowledge came a cost. Civilizations were born, but innocence was lost. Humanity reached higher, but perhaps fell further. Could these chilling similarities be more than just coincidental? Could they be irrefutable evidence of real encounters, seen through the different imperfect lenses of culture and time? If so, then we must ask the uncomfortable question, who were these beings? Really, were they angels cast out of heaven? Were they gods punished for compassion? Or were they something else entirely, entities of power whose presence among mankind forever altered the trajectory of human development? Are the world's myths merely imaginative tales, or are they encrypted memories of events our ancestors witnessed with trembling eyes? And if the same story is told around the world, does that not suggest a shared source, a moment in history so impactful, so transcendent, that it was etched into the very soul of every civilization? As we trace the recurring rhythm of these legends, we find ourselves on the edge of a revelation. The boundary between myth and memory may not be as firm as we were taught, and perhaps, just perhaps, the ancient world knew something we have forgotten, or were never meant to remember. What will you do with this realization? The unsettling truth. What does it mean for you? This isn't just ancient history. This story holds a chilling mirror to Fey world, Fey desires, and Fey future, as we draw the final veil over this profound journey into the mysterious realm of fallen angels and their possible imprint on ancient civilizations. We find ourselves standing at a sacred crossroads, a place where myth confronts history, where legend dances with evidence, and where belief must wrestle with the unsettling weight of possibility. This has not merely been a journey through ancient stories. It has been an unveiling of questions buried deep within the human spirit, questions that demand an answer. Every ancient tale we've examined, every stone monument and whispered myth forms part of a vast, interconnected narrative, a tapestry that stretches across time, cultures, and continents. The saga of the fallen angels, drawn from texts like the Book of Enoch and mirrored in countless mythologies around the globe, reveals a universal pattern. Beings from above who defied the divine order descended to earth and fundamentally reshaped the destiny of mankind. But what was their true purpose? Were they teachers or deceivers? Were they sent to help or to hinder? This labyrinth of ancient accounts does not offer easy answers. In fact, the deeper we journey, the more we realize that knowledge itself is a double-edged sword, much like the very teachings of the Watchers. With every artifact uncovered and every scripture deciphered, we are drawn further into the mystery, suspended between awe and apprehension. What if the divine once walked among us, not in distant metaphor, but in literal, tangible presence? The influence of these beings, whether real or symbolic, cannot be denied. They appear in sacred texts, they are etched into temple walls, and they are echoed in legends passed down for generations. They are a bridge between worlds, a rupture in the fabric of the purely human experience. Could it be that the very pillars of civilization, astronomy, architecture, medicine, warfare, were shaped not only by human effort, but by knowledge gifted or stolen from beings not entirely of this world? These questions, however unsettling, are not meant to frighten but to awaken. They invite us to think critically about the stories we inherit, the monuments we revere, and the unseen forces that may still shape our world. Perhaps the enduring myth of the fallen angels is less about punishment and more about revelation. Perhaps it is a mirror held up to humanity, a reflection of our insatiable thirst for power, our longing for the divine, and our eternal dance with the forbidden. The story of the fallen angels is more than a tale of rebellion. It is a window into the human soul. It reveals our deepest desire to know, to understand, and to transcend our limits. Whether literal or allegorical, these beings speak to something ancient within us, the echo of a time when heaven and earth were closer, when the stars were teachers, and when knowledge came at a profound, terrifying price. So, as we continue to explore the ruins of our past and the riddles of our faith, let us remember, some truths are not buried, but hidden in plain sight, waiting for those with eyes to see and hearts to perceive. Now we turn the question to you. Do you believe fallen angels could have influenced ancient civilizations in such profound ways? What meaning do for you far from the shared myths of sky, born teachers, celestial rebels, and the knowledge that changed the course of humanity forever? We invite you to join the conversation in the comments below. Share your insights, your questions, your theories. And if this journey stirred something within you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. 777 to let us know you're one of the few still seeking the hidden truth. Thank you for walking with us through this divine mystery. Until next time, keep watching the skies and listening for the echoes of the past.